seconds will be open, kicks off, and then the 2 minutes until we start.
Okay. Just stool for Allison. Good morning, Facebook.
Is that on?
Huh?
Is that on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People can see it. You only need to put it in the left ear.
Okay.
Tell her left ear when she comes in.
That's right. We help promote the
Guys, how are you?
Good, Mike. How are you, man? Yeah, buddy. How are you doing? Good to see you. That's who we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can be heard on the FM.
Good old Mike.
Home Improvement Show on FM radio. During the week, send your comments or questions to the Facebook page. All about home construction. For over 3 years now, you can join us at 8 a.m. on AM 1450 WATA. And now, 96.5 FM.
When is it on?
Oh, sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Alright, 1 minute.
Here we go.
We're looking ahead to a warm day today with highs back to around 80 degrees. And there's a touch of mugginess building back in to build up more tomorrow and into the weekend. Still, low chance for a downpour, only an isolated one or two will likely fire up today. Low 60s overnight tonight, upper 70s tomorrow. A little bit better chance for scattered showers. Storm on Friday, better chance still heading into the weekend for those active pop-ups. From severe weather to none.
Sit to where people can see you, man.
Alright, 30 seconds.
And I'm just looking for help.
I've had advice given to me, but it was confusing and didn't really work.
Morning, Chris.
Talk. Help me help a friend.
I like it. You can call in and talk about your problem.
You ever listen to the show?
No, I didn't know. I just found out
Alright,
when she said Brandon was on.
10 seconds.
Know someone who does? Call us. 828
Here we go. 5, 4, 3,
This is
2.
Recovery Talk on WATA.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Recovery Talk. I'm your host, Jim Quigley. Today I have some guests with me. I have Mark and Alison Mccart. Alison's going to join us here in a few minutes. They're going to share their journey with us in recovery as a married couple, both that came from a background of substance abuse. The icing on the cake, getting their son back, and the reason why she's a little late for the show, she's getting him registered for school. Anyway, if you want to be a part of the show today, 828-262-1567, that's the number to call. Call in. You can ask questions during the show, as we have Mark and soon-to-be Allison with us sharing the story, 828-262-1567. But before we start, just want to tell you about our sponsor, Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech's the newest auto garage here in town. They're ready to service all your needs. We've got some new employees over there. They're rocking and rolling. I just left there this morning. A garage full of cars, all getting worked on. If you want to give them a call, set up an appointment, 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434. Mark, say hi to everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Mark and I have been friends for 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. I met Mark through the program that I work for here in town, and he has relocated up here after completing his time with us. And like I said, he's got a special story, more than the average, involving his wife, and his better half will be in here soon, right?
Yes.
Getting the show started, how old are you, Mark?
41, just turned 41.
All right, 41, and what we usually like to do is kind of like tell us what it was like, man. Tell us your background before you know your journey on this new recovery that you have found.
Okay. Well, I started smoking pot, drinking beer with kids I grew up with when I was 13. Years later, started cocaine and pills, and then led to crack. Before the crack, I went to prison for the first time in 2002, drug-related. Did 3 more stints after that, all drug-related, one way or another. In that time frame, we had children, we had homes, We worked, you know, normal people, just, you know, heavy addicts.
You're saying we because
Allison and I, yeah,
have been together for
since 90. We met in 93, started dating in 98, got married in 2000, and 18 years later, you know, we're still together.
crazy.
You know, we've been through more than most couples would ever dare to attempt, and you know, it's all for a reason. You know, I totally believe that. You know, I've always had a thought of God, you know, growing up, and, you know, went to church every once in a while, you know, with family. But, you know, always knew there was something out there that created everything, you know, and never quite knew how to get his help, you know, receive what he's willing to give, until, you know, last few years. I got saved in 2006 in a jail cell, and, you know, started reading the Bible and studying, and, you know, never really wanted to make a full commitment because I knew what it would take, you know, and, you know, at that time I wasn't willing to give up everything, you know.
I knocked you a little off track, but did you say this was all down in Florida, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you and Allison, married, kids, and having lots of ups and downs. You spending time in prison. What was the longest you ever spent locked up?
18 months.
18 months.
I did 2 15s and 2 18 months. I was blessed. I was looking at 15 years one time, 8 years another. Habitual offender. They chose. I stood up in court and they said, "Mr. Mccart is HO eligible. At this time, we do not wish to pursue those charges." And, you know, my heart and my whatever hit the ground, you know, because I knew, you know, what I was facing at that time, you know. And
you know, I know I have the privilege of knowing you for as long as I did, so I know a little bit about your story. And, you know, you have a pretty dramatic set of circumstances in growing up.
right.
Would you mind sharing any of that with anybody?
Yeah.
With us?
My father and my mother were both. My mother was a lot younger than my father. He already had 2 children. I was adopted at the age of 1 to my father worked for Jack and Shirley Mccart at Arlington Record Service in Jacksonville, Florida, and he started there when he was 18 years old. And at that time, with my mother and father, they couldn't take care of me, and I was staying with the Mccarts on and off, you know, for months. And finally, they adopted me on my first birthday, and you know, they had their problems, you know, drug addictions and alcohol addictions, and you know, my father made some poor choices and was shot and killed by Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in 2008. You know, my mother is in rehab now, bless her heart. You know, still struggling. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't meet her until I was 18 years old. The night I graduated high school was the first time I met my mother, and you know, it was weird. It was tough. I haven't had much contact until last year while I was in, you know, House 4, that you know, I was able to talk to my mother again, and since, you know, 1995 was the last time I spoke to her until last year.
And is it right, if I'm remembering right, so your father worked for the Mccarts,
Right.
and they had this very large record service, and didn't he live on property or near the property?
He actually lived on, my parents had the house and then a cottage, and he rented the cottage for many years. I grew up with my dad.
So
Yeah.
that was the dynamic. It's like his boss basically adopted you and became your adopted parents, and you call them mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
They raised you since you were 1, but your father lived right there, so
Yeah.
you grew up with your biological father right there, knowing all this.
Right, fishing, hunting, you know, hanging out. It was called him Daddy Roy. You know, he worked at the shop. I saw him dang near every day.
Yeah, that's just a very, very unique situation.
It was.
You don't hear
No.
stories like that much, and you had a relationship with your father, but you did learn a lot of what not to do too.
Oh, yeah.
Through that relationship.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, from what you told me, your father continued on with that lifestyle, and invited you in on that and all that. But I mean, not to down your father or anything, like just it was just part of what the dynamics of Mark, growing up.
It was growing up at the junkyard also. It was a lot of roughnecks.
Yeah.
The first time I went to jail and got out, all the guys, like jokingly, you're finally part of the crew, you
Right.
know, because it was roughnecks,
Right.
wrench turners and record drivers and grease monkeys, and it was large. It was a large business. There was a lot of guys running around drinking every night.
Right. Yeah, he told me at one time that wrecker service was one of the largest on the East Coast or something.
Florida and Southeast Georgia. My dad had 153 trucks at one time.
Wreckers.
Well, low boys, landalls, drop decks.
Yeah.
48 states. He was doing it. He had 32 wreckers. 32 records.
That's a large operation. Yeah. All right, so yeah, I felt that was real important to make sure we understood that little part.
Yeah.
So, would you say it was 1999 when you met Allison? Is that what
93 in 93. High school?
In high school.
We're best friends for till today, really.
Yeah.
But that's when we started. Loved her forever. You know what I mean? And it's 98 is when we started dating, and got married in 2000. It ain't been peaches and cream. It's been rough for both of us. We put each other through hell, but neither one of us was willing to give up, for whatever reason. And I totally believe, God had his plan the whole time. We just had to hang on and wait. He will chastise us, and we will be, dealt with in his time, in his way.
Mm-hmm.
If we're willing to stick out, throughout the whole plan, it was our choice. And so far, she's 17 weeks pregnant tomorrow.
Yeah.
We were not expecting another child. She's gonna be a little baby girl. We have two boys, 18, one's in college, and Ian starts high school Monday, 10th grade. We're gonna be parents again, and we get that chance to do everything right that we did wrong before, because I love my kids. I had a drug addiction, and I was one of them guys that would, do whatever it took to get high.
Right.
And which led me to prison,
4 times.
Yeah. Plus all the county stints and, everything. Rehabs. This was Freedom Farms with my 5th or 6th treatment. I left one in Georgia to come here. I stayed 40 days.
I remember that now.
And it wasn't they call it a Christian program. It was not. It was more of a workforce, and that's how I felt. And I think my wife's here.
No,
thought I heard her.
But look, hold the thought, because we're coming up on a break here. I want to talk a little bit more about your recovery experience, some rehabs that you went to and stuff. I'm not sure how long this break is, but when we come back, maybe we'll have Allison finally that's joined us or not. If not, we'll just continue on with that story. Folks, we'll be back in just a minute.
Prescription drugs are among the most misused substances in the U.S.
We're looking
Our
at
pharmacists and staff at all of our Green Drug locations are committed to putting an end to this epidemic by promoting safe medication practices.
4 minutes.
We encourage all
4 minutes?
customers to
Okay.
Doing all right?
Oh, you're doing great, man. Yeah, you're doing great. Yeah, I'll try to interject and kind of, because what
I
I'll
will
do,
get thrown off.
sometimes I'll throw a rabbit trail out there and then I'll start going down it with you. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm trying to stay in a little bit of the past right now because I was hoping Allison would be here. She can give a little bit of her opinion about it, but we'll just keep going. I think you got a lot to say about.
Said she'll be here. Nope. Should be here in 5 minutes. That was 1 minute ago.
Okay. She might walk right in then, right when we get started again.
Once upon a time,
You feel okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
A lion and a man made of metal followed the yellow line road of Highway 105 to the wonderful land of Upper Foster to visit the
I'm talking to my mom who's asking a question right now. Mark left Freedom Farm September of last year, and his wife completed 6 months at Carrie's Home for Women. We're going to get into that, though, so that wasn't in the beginning. Stop rushing the story, Mom. There's Mike Moore that was just telling you, my buddy that's the trucker for Lizzie. He just tuned in. If you want, I don't know if you can get on Facebook, but you can see, or you can see it right there. See people who are on, people asking questions.
And the garden goddess granted all of their wishes thanks to her team of landscape.
But you have to find Recovery Talk.
Yeah, too much for me. I use Facebook for messaging.
Yeah, that's right.
Elegance in the high country, fine china, stoneware, beautiful table linens in a variety of prints and colors, quality cookware, small appliances, collectibles, and
My dad posted something on Facebook giving me grief because I went down for his birthday this past weekend to Atlanta, but he was giving me grief for my long hair. And it was actually kind of funny. It said, imagine the disappointment of if a wolf knew its descendant would be a pug. That's how your grandfather feels when he sees your man bun.
Just send him a picture of Jason. Jason Momoa?
Yeah. Oh, he's not going to appreciate it regardless.
Is it Momoa?
Yeah. But he's not going to care if that's...
You know who that is, the actor Jason Momoa? Mm-hmm. He's got to be the new Aquaman when it comes out, but he's married to Lisa. I don't know if he's married to her.
Yeah, they're married.
Lisa Bonet. You remember her from The Cosby Show?
Okay.
His sister. Mm-hmm. She had a child with Lenny Kravitz first.
Right.
But she's married to Jason now. He's pretty famous now. He was on Game of Thrones as yeah. It's all this new TV stuff, man. Mm-hmm. He looks like a Samoan, kind of.
Yeah, he's Hawaiian.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He looks like that.
All right, 32 seconds. Yeah, I'm not Hawaiian, though, unfortunately. I didn't get to grow up on that beautiful island. I got to grow up in the nice, windy city.
You're from Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
Really? So
yep.
You and Justin over there from Chicago, huh?
Yeah, I mentioned that this morning to the new sales person. He's like, you don't have that accent. I'm like, I suppress it hard, man.
Yeah.
All right, 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting. 828-262-1567 is the number to call if you want to talk to Mark. And Allison is a minute or two away. She'll be here to join us. You want to talk to her too. 828-262-1567. We are sponsored by Freedom Auto Tech, which Freedom Auto Tech's the newest garage here in town, and they're ready to service all your auto needs. 828-355-4434, 828-355-4434. So during the break, I was saying, you know what would be interesting to hear a little bit about your recovery experience. You went to how many programs?
5 or 6.
5 or 6 programs. In prison 4 times, lots of jail stints. Did you do anything in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about going through that gamut, because anybody that's struggling with recovery, or, I mean, you're going to be introduced to this world of all kinds of different opinions and whatnot. So tell us how your experience through that and how you navigated it.
Each program was, individual, to itself. It's a lot of information. This is what I thought. There's a lot of information to learn about your body and different chemical changes, and the way that the brain acts to certain drugs. That's all good and dandy, but where is really the recovery? They can't really use God, Christ, because of insurance purposes. So, and I always felt, that being in prison and in jail, you don't have much. You got a lot of books and the Bible. You tend to read a lot, and I studied with different religions, just to see, you know, what they thought and what their beliefs were. And, you know, I knew, you know, that the only way, you know, was His way. You know, ultimately, you know, and you helped me out tremendously coming to your class, and, you know, the way you explain things, and, you know, you had answers for my questions, or you would ask me a question with my question. You did that a lot. You liked that one. Or you'd say, oh, you're not asking me a question. You're just stating a fact. Whichever it was. You made me think, and, you know, Freedom Farm actually gave me the time to reflect on myself, meditate on God, and, you know, really listen. And, you know, that was the whole thing. Being in a big city or in a big program where you've got all these different things going on, you don't have time to listen. And I'm not talking about to somebody else. I'm talking about, you know, what God has in store. And, you know, there's many aspects of the program that really helped me. And a lot of that was just being quiet, you know. I was able to walk and, you know, just listen. Once again, you know, I keep saying that because I didn't listen for many years. I read a lot, and I would, you know, think, okay, I've got it this time because I've been reading the Bible. And as soon as I'd walk out of prison, you know, it'd stick with me for a few weeks, but life started again.
Sure.
And, you know, I would forget to read my devotion in the morning or Proverbs, or, you know, whatever I was doing. I was running late, you know, and I'd always put it back because I had all these other things that I was supposed to be doing, which was all a lie, you know. Talk about chasing the wind. You know, you can chase that wind for a long time until you realize it's not worth it, you know.
They're here.
Okay.
But I think she's, she'll be in a minute. But interesting, I wanted to you know, real quick just mention that, you know, I think a lot of the information about how your brain works and how the you know, drugs physically affect you and all that, it's all very, very, you know, helpful information, and I'm sure it's stuck with you. I know it's been very helpful information for me to have that information on neurotransmitters and dopamine, and
right.
You know, then they want to talk about triggers and things like that. But ultimately, it's just kind of like what you said. You know, you were given a time to sit and listen, and life. You said life happens. You know, life starts to happen, and you know, ultimately, in my opinion, if you don't give people what they need in order to interpret their environment and how to navigate their environment, right? They're going to end up failing. You can know all your triggers, right? You can know all about the physiology of addiction, how your brain is affected by it, and all that. But you know, time after time, you got people, and some people just say just abstinence, right? So you got people that, like in your case, have been in jail or prison for a long time, and then the day they get out, I mean, you could use drugs in jail, no problem.
No problem.
But there are people that stay clean and sober, and then they're like, you know what, I've got, you know, 2 years, so I'm going to be good now. And what happens the first day they're out? They're using again, and people are like, what in the world's going on? It's because they do not know how to navigate life at this point. And this is the question that all worldviews and philosophies and everybody is trying to give the answer to. And this isn't something that only people that struggle with substance abuse deal with. Everybody deals with this, right? Everybody wakes up every day and they want to know, what is my purpose in life? You know, they want to know, where do I fit in this world? They want to know, like, how do I deal with this immediate situation? You know, bad things are happening to me right now, and I'm doing all the right thing. How do I balance that in my brain right now? You know what I mean? I mean, you're already sharing a little bit right now. You're like, you know what? I firmly believe all the stuff I went through had purpose.
Right.
Like the bad stuff that had happened to me wasn't purposeless, you know? And, you know, if you don't have answers to those things, you know, you may be left up to, you know what, evil and bad things happen and it's all purposeless. And you know what, then you're a victim. And what is something that people that struggle with substance abuse all share? I mean, they call it the poor me's, feeling very sorry for yourself, you know, and and you can get trapped in that for a very long time. So, you're going through all this searching on how to navigate life in your environment. You're learning about physiology of it, and then you said in 2006, you made a commitment to Christ, right? You said, I think this is what I want to do. Did you had already started doing some other world religion study back then? No,
it all started right then.
Or all started right then.
Yeah.
Okay, you started looking at, so you're like, you know what, I think this is the answer,
right?
And you made a commitment, but then when you get out, you weren't ready to follow through with that commitment. Maybe it's because you didn't understand fully the commitment you were making.
I still thought I could control, what I wanted to do, basically, because it was all a choice that I wanted. That I thought this is going to make me feel better. I just had to fight with my wife. I'm gonna go get high, and everything's gonna go away. No, it made it 10 times worse. And today, we still argue, and I just know that I'm not willing to give up everything that God has given me, because it has been so much. Relationships, love. I love other people. I'm not willing to give that up today. And it's a battle. I smoke crack. I like crack. I like smoking crack cocaine. That was my drug of choice. And it's very easy to say I want to go get high when
life is tough.
Life is tough, right? And I trust in the Lord today. I know that fear is a liar. There were many things that that passed through my head before I make a choice to do anything but what God wants me to do. And I still don't. I'm still learning. It's difficult. I have to have some kind of connection with Him every day to put me back in check that it's all going to be okay.
I want to talk about. You said fear is a liar. I want to talk about a little bit of one of the biggest lies that I believed, and not necessarily that Christianity taught me this, but I think people in ignorance in Christianity kind of didn't really hammer home this point, and it was this idea that I'm in control, I can do it, you've given me the instructions, now I just need to put forth the effort. We're going to talk more about that when we come back. We got a few seconds, but Allison's with us, so she'll be joining us when we come back from the break. Hey, you can come in.
I'm going to slide this chair in behind you for your son. Or you guys want to just slide one chair down.
So Ian's coming too. All right. Come on in, brother. So, yeah. Why don't you sit here, Allison? Ian, why don't you come sit right here?
Got the hot seat.
Put this one in your ear, and you can hear yourself.
Okay.
I don't have one for you. Sorry. You all right? All right. Did you get everything signed up? Yeah.
Somewhat.
Were you going to school? Okay.
Mike, Allie.
Nice to meet you.
Ian.
Okay.
I'm finally getting it down because I always want to call him Alex. Finally getting it down.
Everybody's done that their entire life.
Really?
You. Oh yeah. They're so close together.
Yeah. Joe, I was like,
The younger one's taller.
What's that?
The younger one's taller.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Alex last night, and he said, hoping he'd grow spurt only 5'8.5" for the rest of my life.
You're on Facebook Live. You can say hi to everyone.
I got something to say, but it's not high. Oh wait, this is Christian.
Well,
I don't know. I could give my mom's boyfriend a couple shout outs. Just teasing.
So you said 13 weeks?
17.
17.
This fraud watch alert is
Name
it.
Right.
Name?
Her name's Lainey Grace.
Oh, that's right. I saw that. That's Lena Grace.
And James Peter. Wait.
James Peter
James
Quigley
Peter?
the third.
Okay. James Peter. I thought I had
We're
it.
calling him JP.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark,
When is he
turn
dead?
so people can see. 'Cause no one
Oh,
can.
so okay, that's right.
The Facebook Live right there. My mom just said, I can't see her.
Oh,
She's here, right there.
so are we like? Is your mom just seeing us, or is
No,
everybody?
There's 10
Facebook
people
Live.
watching.
No, right now. Oh,
It's a little bit behind, so
see that?
yeah. But people are watching, and then there's people listening, obviously. See,
Oh.
Amy Nelson from Zionsville's
So I
watching.
just
Hi,
said
Amy.
that. Oh,
stats and information. Want a copy shipped to you? Order your copy today.
I didn't realize.
Kathy Plymell, she's saying, I love that you're all doing the talk show.
Hey,
Here's my
Kathy.
mom saying hi.
Hi, Mom. No,
What? You're on
open
Facebook
mouth,
Live?
insert foot. I'm not friends with him anyway, so
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't.
you missed it.
Just, yeah. So we'll go to 11:30. I think there'll be this round and then another break and then there'll be a final round.
Yeah,
right?
there'll be 2 more segments.
Yeah. I do remember you, Kathy.
I don't.
How's John doing? It's live.
And it's hot. Because I'm pregnant.
My wife is miserable.
How far along?
She's 34 on Monday, but we had a growth check yesterday, and they said that the baby is measuring 35 in a couple days, 35 weeks in a couple days, so larger.
So her due date may be bumped back a week.
Forward.
We have a consultation on the 24th, and they may be discussing possible early C-section because he's getting big. That's good to hear, Kathy. People are listening. They're interested in all that stuff.
So September 20. What's the due date?
September 25th.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 35 seconds.
Erica says, remember Erica from Carrie's? You look beautiful.
course.
Congrats
Hi,
on the baby
Erica.
girl.
What are you having?
Is she pregnant? I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
There you go.
We can get our
5,
tires
4,
put on.
3, 2.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting. 828-262-1567 is the number to call if you'd like to talk to Mark or Allison's now joined us on the show. So say hi, Allison, everyone.
Hi, Allison, everyone.
This show is brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is a auto shop here in town, ready to service your car if it needs. 828-355-4434. That's 828-355-4434 to call if you need work done on your car. So, Allison, you joined us. We have been hearing from Mark. He was basically telling us about, before coming to Boom, what life was like. He basically said life was pretty bad, and it was pretty much your fault. So, I'm just kidding.
I believe that.
I'm totally kidding. He shared with the audience about his upbringing a little bit, meeting you in 93, marrying in 2000, but started dating in 98, right? So I'm trying to get the timeline all together. He shared with people about going to jail a couple times, and just he was talking a little bit about his recovery experience up to this point, learning a lot of the physical about how drugs affect the brain and things like that. But what would you like to share with us about like your experience we've already kind of let the cat out of the bag and said that you're kind of partners in crime with all this kind of thing. So I didn't think you'd mind. But what was your experience like? You know, living the lifestyle, trying to get sober, back and forth, being married to crazy man here, having Ian's over here hiding in the corner. You can't see him. Maybe you can. Yeah, there he is. So he's joining us in the show. But just tell us anything you'd like to about life before coming to Boone.
Well, life was pretty crazy. A lot of self-induced pain and misery. Kind of fun at first, I guess. Never not really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Had no hope, no future. Eventually, after 15, 20 years, I followed my husband to Boone and went to Carrie's Home for Women, and found Jesus, and through God's grace was forgiven of all the terrible choices that I'd made, and now I'm here.
It's a wonderful story. I remember Mark had come to Boone, okay, and basically he said, "Look, man, you can correct me, but my wife is in a bad way, and she's crazy, and I want her to get up here because I love her, and she needs help, and I found some amazing help here. What do you think? What do you think about her being able to come up here?" And I was like, man, that's a bad idea.
For the record, I'm still crazy.
Yeah. I think we all are a little bit, but we can live crazy and be sober. But there was a lot of prayer, a lot of thought. How long were you up here before you followed up?
I come in February. She come in May.
3 months.
So 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in house 4, so I'd come down.
You had made it to the third phase of the program, and third phase, for those of you who don't know, Freedom Farm is 2 phases that are pretty much 24-hour with staff, you know, with us, and then the third phase you graduate into, you're able to get work and have a job. And when you were in this phase, we were talking, and wouldn't you say that coming up here was pretty? It was Eric is
You're having a boy, no thanks.
Reluctant. Would you say that would be a good word to describe her coming up here? Did you want to come?
Yeah. No. Yes. Both.
I wanted to come. Yeah. Nobody likes change.
Right. Where were you right before coming here? What were you doing?
Well, I was renting a room in a house. I had a job, and then I was living with my grandmother for 3 weeks before I came here. But I knew that I was making the transition. I was just dragging my heels. Mark said, "I'm buying you a bus ticket." What weekend am I buying it? To try to make me, commit to something. And then we planned it around his ability to have a weekend away from the house. So he picked me up on a Friday at the bus station. We stayed together till Sunday evening.
I remember that.
And Vonnie welcomed me into the home on May 21st. And I left on November 18th with completion, and I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about God. Raised Catholic, had no relationship with God personally, really. I mean, I knew I was a Christian, I knew I was saved, I knew I was going to heaven. But other than that, I didn't really have much of a belief system. I just believed that there was a God. He actually had answered prayers for me before, in desperate times.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And in this, in all this going on, where were the boys?
Her mother.
Your mother was taking care of Alex and Ian. And how long you guys kind of not been together?
My husband and I?
For me, well, I ain't been with my boy since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about the time that my mom
14.
got them again.
Yeah.
She has had them off and on since, I think, 2005. But they would live with me for a couple years, and then things would get too crazy. Yeah. And then I would get somewhat stable. They would come back with me. Something would happen. It was not a very stable life for children. So God's given me the opportunity to do it right. The baby that I prayed for and very grateful to be able to do this right.
So I'm going to share, because I was obviously part of the conversation you coming up here, but it's funny now that after the fact, now that I know you both much better, when you were discussing her coming up here, you were being very honest with me that this is probably not going to work out. This is probably going to be a bad idea. This is probably going to go south. And I was telling you, like, look, man, you know, I didn't really know how long your relationship had gone, how much stuff you'd gone through. But, like, I was like, you know, you got to be, I was giving you counsel, like, you really got to be careful yourself, because usually in those situations, the other person gets dragged down. And I was saying, look, what if it comes and it blows up? And we were having all these conversations about, let's talk about how bad it could possibly be and be ready for that and have a plan in place. And right now, I don't know, because I've never really met a couple that were like so for each other no matter what. Does it make sense? I mean, you guys have been through some stuff. We don't have enough time to go into all the stories, but when you were saying to me, like, look, I may have to just like let her go, and I don't know how serious that was in your mind, or because you were saying the words, but I mean, I can imagine, you know, that even being possible.
Half was for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's all relationships.
Yeah. I mean, but of course, you know, there's that thought of, you know, I've come this far, and if she comes and bucks, what am I going to do?
Right.
That's, you know, am I going to leave her?
That's exactly the word you use.
Right.
She bucks, what do I do?
Right.
You want to be strong, but can you be that
right.
strong?
When it comes to it, what's the choice you're going to make?
Right.
Yeah.
You know? But it didn't have to, so it all worked out.
We never got there.
Right. She come in and fell right in. You know,
my halo.
Great. I don't know about that, but.
So while you were here with us, one of the things that you actually said it before Allison came in and joined us. You were saying that, you know, the benefit, and you know, this isn't like, I don't want to receive praise for it, but I've always felt it important to try to communicate people truth in a way that they can understand. You know, let's not speak up here with people. Let's get down here and let's talk to them like in plain language. And that happened during your time here. You said that, like, you know, things were made simple to where I can understand and I could connect dots. And let me tell you, that was my experience coming up here. I had dots that just I had not connected, and I realized that it's a lot more simple than I was making it out to be. So you had that hope that this is what my wife needs. She needs these dots connected.
Well, not just for her, but for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, to get us back together. Because that's, you know, that was the only way, you know, all this was going to work, is if she come up here and then we were both doing well, we could get our son back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Alex stayed in Florida to go to college, you know, which is a blessing. But, you know, I ultimately it's family, you know, God first and then family, then others.
Right.
You know, and that had to be the order, you know.
And, you know, for as many people I've dealt with in the past, you know, I often use the idea is to get people to think along priority lines, right? I think before the priority was for you was God wasn't there. I think it was more, you know, my relationship with Allison and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think here you started to learn that it's got to be God first.
Right.
But you were always somebody that once you understood that, you know, I'm not saying you're perfect in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know these truths to be true. Also,
Right.
I wanted to say self-evident, you know, talking about the Constitution or something. But anyway, I know this to be true also. But I will screw up my own personal priority list. But that was something actually that you repeated to yourself, I think, enough, and in conversation and in one-on-one counsel, that it's really just started to bury itself in your head. Like, it's got to be this, God. But, you know, it's amazing. A lot of people, even in sobriety, they become very, very selfish. But we're getting close. Yeah, we're coming up on a hard break. When we come back, we'll have the final, like, what life is like now. We'll be able to spend about 12 minutes with you. But we'll be back here in just a minute.
Love you, Erica. I'm sorry.
She can still hear you now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the.
We got two different things going on.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. 2 minutes, and then we go to the bottom of the hour, and we're done.
So
it's
you
that
should
fast.
unblock me on Facebook, please.
What happened?
We'll talk about it. We're not on the air. I hurt Erica's feelings, and we're not friends anymore.
Oh, well. She's, looks like she's over it.
So, Elfie's pretty miserable.
Yeah, very pregnant.
Is she big?
Yeah.
She's still working.
Her belly's out to here. Yeah.
Is it low?
Very low.
Yeah, see, I'm high.
Yeah.
I'm always high.
Well, you're still early.
Well, yeah, but it's high for one like this. But then I'm so much older.
There's the. Well, you're not.
No, so much older than when I had this one. 17 years.
Want to know a secret? Like
I'm sorry, too. Oh, I love you.
About a minute.
I want to rub bellies.
Y'all were roommates.
We were roommates. I've got some jokes.
Oh,
Can she still hear me?
Yeah, she can hear everything that's going on right now.
So Mark said that we were roommates, and I was thinking of the how you used to get on the bed. Remember, and I used to laugh about it. Remember the posture of getting up onto your bunk bed? That wasn't a bunk bed. I'll leave it at that. It was quite interesting.
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
This was fun, Jim.
She's laughing.
Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2.
We're back from the break. This is Recovery Talk, Hope and Help for the Hurting. Recovery Talk is brought to you by Freedom Auto Tech. Freedom Auto Tech is the newest local auto shop here in town. Their number is 828-355-4434. Give them a call if you have if your engine light's on, you got a knocking underneath, a squeaking in your brake. 828-355-4434. If you want to call in and say hi to the Mccarts, you can. 828-262-1567. That's 828-262-1567. They got a wealth of knowledge. You guys have you have a very unique story because, in my experience, you should not succeed.
Right.
Okay. You
well,
both.
Thank you, Jim.
No.
I just
the statistics are against you in every realm. Okay. Married couple, long history of substance abuse together, right? How many times you institutionalized? You should be institutionalized. Losing a lot. I mean, you lost. You didn't lose your kids, but they were estranged from you. We
lost ourselves.
Yeah. So all the statistics would say that you guys are just lost causes, but obviously that's not true. So you came to Boone, both of you, just to kind of get back on the story. Mark was head of you three or so months. He had gone through a lot of the classes that we went through. I was blessed to be able to teach at both programs, Freedom Farm and Carries Home for Women, and through those classes, the Lord grabbed a hold of your mind and heart too in such a way that dots started getting connected. You started to understand, like what you said, relationship, and also you guys, I would say, a big reason that a topic we talk about here a lot, that you guys also started to find a community, right? You guys both look at your both faces just lit up because that is absolutely true about you two. Tell us a little bit about this transition, because Mark left the program and got a place, and then you finished your 6-month commitment before joining him. So there was even a period of time where you were out of the program. You could have gone and moved in with him, but you're like, no, I'm finishing. I'm finishing.
He tried to get me to come, and I said, no, I'm not going to have another regret.
Because you had some priorities that are important.
Right.
and your community was saying, "Hey, look, just be patient; it'll happen." And you guys. So anyway, tell us a little bit about that whole thing. Okay, so you're nearing the end. You're out on your own. You guys are about to get together, and I'm sure things were very scary, but also very hopeful. And tell us a little bit about that.
So Bethel Baptist Church is a very strong supporter of Carrie's Home. We attend church there every Wednesday and Sunday as part of the program. The program that I identify with, it's a little different now. So Mark started attending Bethel with me after fulfilling his commitment to do what was required of him at Freedom Farm, which was Alliance Bible Fellowship. So anyways, Bethel immediately wrapped their arms around us. Bethel is the best church, in my opinion. Very loving, very welcoming of everybody.
Yeah.
Do not judge. They treat you, you see Jesus when you look at Bethel. And I know that's a strong correlation, but that's generally, honestly, how strongly I feel about Preacher. And anyway, so we were in a Sunday school class. One of the seniors at the church was moving on to another church. So I immediately whispered in Mark's ear, we need to find out where he lives, because that meant there was a vacancy in Bethel. We went and talked to the landlord the next day. We very good old boy mentality. We wanted to fill out a contract and give him some money. He said, no, that's not how it works. Just move in, just don't, what mean. And so handshake contract and everything that I've prayed for, and that Bethel has prayed for with me, such as work. My work is abundant. I make more money than I've ever made.
Can I borrow some money?
No. And opportunities continue to be presented to us. Just everything. I don't think that I conceive children very easily, which I think is probably a good thing considering my past. But we got pregnant, and at 40, and I prayed for that at Carrie's Home, and 6 months later I was pregnant without even making any extra efforts to become pregnant. Just happened. We were very shocked, but very, very, very happy, and I just can't speak enough about how blessed I feel to be a responsible parent and to mother this child the way that I didn't with my first two. So I'm just blessed to have another opportunity.
Well, praise God, your other two are still good boys.
Oh, they're excellent. I don't know how
right
I got that blessed, but I just continue the blessings to be poured upon me.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
I'll never forget you coming in, and it was being one of these, sit down in front of me. The whenever Mark had something pretty tough to talk about, just sit down and look at the ground for a second and get him composure. And I think she wants to have another kid, man. He's like, how do I feel about this?
Yeah.
And I'm
that
like,
was
hey.
last year.
Yeah, and I was like, hey man, for the listening audience, my wife is, I'm not supposed to say, but close to. She's in a high-risk pregnancy age.
We are of advanced maternal age.
Advanced maternal age. And my wife is, as of Monday, 34 weeks with our son. So, so God's plans aren't necessarily my plans all the time.
Right.
But anyway.
But we're happy.
Yes. And, that was something I was really proud of you, Mark, just to kind of give you an attaboy. Churches... there are definitely churches out there probably people should not attend, but then there are churches that are just sometimes matter of, preference as far as dynamics. We bring the guys to a very large church, which, one of the downfalls of large churches sometimes is you can get lost in them pretty easy. You become like and I don't think that that's something large churches want to happen. It just kind of comes with the territory. And then sometimes speakers and things like that, programs just aren't for people. But, man, Mark, you made sure to come and do what you needed to do with us. And for those of you watching and listening, he would come to a service with us because we bring our guys to Alliance Bible Fellowship, and then he would immediately leave and drive all the way out to Bethel, which was a 40-minute ride. 40 minutes.
Close, yeah.
40-minute ride to make sure to have fellowship and service with his wife that was in a program going to that church. And I just can't think enough of Charlie Martin and the people of Bethel, their support of Carrie's home, and how they have touched your lives. Don't want to go into lots of details, but you guys have had a couple trips home and are like, you know what, we should just stay away from Jacksonville. And the thing is that thinking about those things, you had a community to come back to.
Mm-hmm.
And you came back to your community, and when you guys are here, a lot of people want to say a geographical change. We were just talking about this outside the office. You follow yourself wherever you go. You know what? Sometimes geographical change.
Well, you do to an extent. But it doesn't have to be thrown in your
You guys
face.
have both experienced some tremendous change here. You have a community that loves you. You were telling me some interesting stories about a Bible study the other night and getting to know people, not even realizing, that you share a lot in common with a lot of people. But man, the high country has become a new home for some Floridians, just like this Floridian that is up here now 7+ years. I came from South Florida, and I have not gone home. I've been back home but I come back here as fast as I can.
Yeah.
So there's another thing flying against the old saying, geographical change isn't the cure. I'm not saying it's the cure, but
it helps.
Kind of like a big thing about this show, and thank you guys for being on the show. We're getting close to the end here, but this show is all about kind of going against the grain that people are trying to say they have recovery all figured out. They just don't, okay? But you know what? There are people that are having success in recovery. We have 2 people here that joined us. Again, thank you. They're having they have a successful story in recovery. They have a huge story as being married people that have made it through what they've made it through, and you're here sharing it. And you know what? Like I said, probably against everybody else's advice that has those extra letters behind their names. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Praise God for your story.
All the way.
Yeah.
I went on to Jesus.
Absolutely, I do too. So we signed up. I just found out that high schools now have all kinds of classes that I want to take. I wish I were there. So, Ian, are you excited about going to school? He gave a nod, an affirmative nod. So I tried to get him to say something real quick, but
read my life scripture, Ephesians 4:28. Anyone who has been stealing must steal no longer, but must work, doing something useful with their own hands, that they may have something to share with those in need. I help people with their homes, and they always ask, "What brought you up here?" And I always say, Freedom Farms and God. And that's what it's all about.
All right, so what do we got? We're done. Okay.
The end.
I get it all out.
Sorry. Well, no, you started reading it. I mean, it's not that, there's an issue going over. When we started reading that, I was like, a couple seconds isn't going to be the worst thing.
Right. We got a couple seconds. So. All right, Facebook family. See you later. If you don't mind.
Bye.
And hand me that phone and I'll shut it off. You got some thank yous for sharing your story.